Okay, Ziki, today we start Exodus. Exodus 1. We're going to read about the sons of Israel, and then the Israelites are oppressed by the Egyptians. Okay? We're going to read about key event 15 in the Bible. Israel enslaved in Egypt. Okay? Israel, it doesn't refer to Jacob anymore. From now on, when we hear Israel, that's Jacob's descendants. It's a whole nation of people now. Okay, we're going to hear Israel a lot. No more, that's not Jacob anymore. It's his descendants. Okay, key event 15, we're going to read about starting in verse 8. Israel enslaved in Egypt. After 4 centuries, how long is 4 centuries, Ezekiel? 4 centuries. 400 years. Okay? So Joseph died, then 400 years passed. Okay? After 4 centuries, that's 400 years.
400 years this big.
Yep.
That's
A new Pharaoh comes to power who decides to reverse course with the descendants of Jacob. Instead of Egyptian hospitality, he institutes oppression, slavery, and ultimately genocide for the Israelites. Do you know what genocide is, Ziki?
No.
He wants to kill them.
Okay. I never heard about that.
He wants to kill them off. He wants to wipe them out.
Why?
That's like what we're reading about. What we're reading about in that book, where
Fury?
Yeah, the Fury book, where the Nazis want to do genocide on the Jews. Okay?
Oh.
This is an ancient story. The Egyptian king wanted to do genocide.
It sounds like ancient.
Ancient means very old. Ancient.
It sounds like ancient.
Okay?
The ancient.
No, well, ancient. This is ancient.
But
It sounds like anxious. Yeah, it sounds like anxious.
We have ancient ninja book.
Anxious ninja. Yeah, no. This word is ancient,
Oh,
meaning very old.
I didn't heard about that before.
Okay. Well, that's what's going on. So, since Joseph died at the end of Genesis, now 400 years passed. Okay? Exodus 1, verse 1. These are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob, each with his household. Verse 2, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Verse 3, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Verse 4, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. Verse 5, all the offspring of Jacob were 70 persons. Joseph was already in Egypt. Verse 6, then Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. Verse 7, but the descendants of Israel were fruitful and increased greatly. They multiplied and grew exceedingly strong, so that the land was filled with them. Okay? Now it's verse 8. This starts, the Israelites are oppressed by the Egyptians. Exodus 1, verse 8. Now there arose a new king over Egypt, who did not know Joseph. Verse 9. And he said to his people, behold, the sons of Israel are too many and too mighty for us. Verse 10. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply. And if war befall us, they join our enemies and fight against us and escape from the land. Verse 11, therefore set taskmasters over them to afflict them with heavy burdens. And they built for Pharaoh store cities, Pithom and Ramses. Verse 12, But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied, and the more they spread abroad. And the Egyptians were in dread of the sons of Israel. Verse 13. So they made the sons of Israel serve with rigor. Verse 14. And made their lives bitter with hard service. In mortar and brick, and in all kinds of work in the field. In all their work, they made them serve with rigor. Verse 15. Then the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah, and the other Puah. Verse 16. When you serve as midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon their birth stool, if it is a son, you shall kill him. But if it is a daughter, she shall live. Verse 17. But the midwives feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but let the male children live. Verse 18. So the king of Egypt called the midwives and said to them, why have you done this? And let the male children live. Verse 19, the midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and are delivered before the midwife comes to them. Verse 20, so God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very strong. Verse 21, and because the midwives feared God, he gave them families. Verse 22, and Pharaoh commanded all his people, every son that is born to the Hebrews, you shall cast into the Nile, but you shall let every daughter live. Okay? What's that called when Pharaoh wanted to kill all the sons? Starts with a G. Genocide. Genocide. We just went over that word. Pharaoh wanted to kill off all the Israelites. Okay, that's genocide. He wanted to do genocide to all the Israelites.
Who's the Israelites?
The Israelites, the descendants of Jacob. Okay, 400 years after Joseph died. These are all the grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren of Jacob. Okay?
Those are the Israelites?
Israelites, yeah, the children of Israel. Okay? So when you hear Israel from now on, it's all those people. They grew into a great nation. Okay? And they're all in the best land of Egypt. And the new Pharaoh, he doesn't like it. He said, oh, there's too many of those people. I don't like them. Okay?
If there's a little bit.
Maybe you wouldn't have a problem. Okay? The problem is they're in the best land in the nation. Okay? Where they can grow a lot of crops. And where the cows and horses can get a lot of food. And there's so many of them. Okay, baby. So that's the end of Exodus 1. Do you have any more questions?